Back to the story. We have breaking developments tonight in the Russia probe. Word that Susan Rice will testify now before the House Intelligence Committee as part of their investigation into the unmasking of Trump officials towards the end of the Obama administration. What was going on there? It looks like it's going to be a closed-door session. Of course, it's going to be very highly anticipated, and it will happen, we're told, sometime before the August recess. Joining us to react to this and other big foreign policy news tonight, Pete Hoekstra, former House Intelligence Committee chairman, and Juan Williams, co-host of The Five Gentlemen. Welcome. Great to have both of you here. A lot to get to. So we'll get right to it. Pete, let me get your reaction first to the news that Susan Rice, who had been asked to testify and said no to the Senate Intel Committee reportedly, will now do so before the House Committee.
I'm glad that Susan is going to show up. I think the Congress wants to hear exactly what happened. You know, it's kind of interesting that we're at the point where, you know, Lindsey Graham, you've got Rand Paul, cannot get an answer to a very simple question. Were they targeted? Were they unmasked? Hopefully we'll get answers to those questions. Also, we'll hopefully get a better insight to exactly what the Russians were and were planning to do in the 2016 elections. We haven't heard that much. Yeah.
You know, it's two parts of two very important elements of all of this. One, we need to understand why these names were unmasked. If it was proper, as she claims, then that's fine. But if it was for some other reason, it's not.
Well, that'd be true. So I think President Trump created the pressure here for Susan Rice to testify when he suggested the unmasking is the real story, not what's going on with the potential.
But it's the only illegality that we know of so far.
Well, it's not illegal.
It is illegal.
It's not illegal to unmask somebody. It's illegal if you do it for political purposes. But unmasking happens all the time.
Well, we know that it then got leaked to the newspapers.
Well, that's a separate...
It was only given to a small handful of people. So,
right, but we don't know who did the leaking. The leaking is what would be illegal, and potentially the unmasking, if it's done for political purposes, would be illegal. But unmasking, and I think Pete Hoekstra will confirm this, that unmasking is done by top military intelligence and political figures in a White House all the time.
Pete?
Yeah, no, Juan's absolutely right. People are unmasked for very specific purposes. The question here will be who was unmasked, why they were unmasked. It's going to be very difficult, I think, to reach a conclusion that the unmasking was done for illegal purposes. There may be suspicions, but again, people will look at the same information, and two groups may come to very different conclusions. One saying it was appropriate, the other saying, nope, illegal.
I mean, it's the only area of this Russia probe so far that has the potential for a discovery of an illegal act. So we will see what happens when she goes in there and talks to them.